5, 4, 3.
Yummy like a gummy bear.
Hey everybody, welcome to Game Mess Mornings with me, Jeff Grubb, your host from giantbomb.com. Thank you for tuning in. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Nintendo's distinct lack of respect for the Holy Donkey Kong timeline and lore. It's going to be a good one because we have Lex Luddy on the show. Lexi, how are you doing?
Grubb, I've had about 8 hours sleep over the course of the last 4 nights.
Hell yeah.
So this is going to be a fun show. It's going to be a real interesting show. Let's see how this goes.
Oh yeah, you don't need sleep. You just need Game Mess Mornings and very early. Well, I guess not for you. Nintendo Directs.
Grubb, did you see that I met Chris San? I met Chris San in a Spanish airport.
I saw you met Chris San. I was very excited for you.
I played Mario Arcade in a Spanish airport.
And I mean, I'm sure he was just stopping everyone he could see to talk about stomping Tupas.
It was delightful, man. Delighttful, man.
Very excited for you. Now when I think of him, I think about hearing that from cast members at Disney who are like, hey, there was a thread like, who are some of the worst people that are worst famous people you've ever had to deal with? And someone's like, yeah, Chris Pratt. Like, that sounds about right.
Sounds right. Sounds right.
Listen, he's a delight in my YouTube chat, everybody. So I don't know, he's good to me. Maybe just try being better yourselves, everybody. He'll treat you better. All right, we're gonna get into this show here in a second. But Lexi, you have been traveling. Have you been able to keep up with games? I know you were able to get your hands on a Switch 2. How's that all going?
Yeah, I got a Switch 2, and it resulted in a massively embarrassing moment for me, where I got on an airplane. I was traveling to Spain for a family thing, to visit some people, and there was a woman sitting one side of me, and there was a man sitting the other side of me, and I was still on the tarmac, and I was like, oh, I've never beaten Tokyo Mirage Sessions. It's like, I'll play a bit more of that. I played about an hour of it the night before, and I just finished the first dungeon. And at the end of that first dungeon, you're introduced to the woman who kind of gives you all of your quests and is she's the leader. And that woman had the most boobs physics of any video game character I've ever witnessed in my life.
That's when you really want it, is when you're stuck between people on a plane.
And I was instantly like, well, I'm playing Tetris for the rest of this flash. I'm just going to load up Tetris Effect instead and hope that they didn't see that.
Did Tetris Effect also get boob physics? Is that why you played that one? Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. They added boobs to all those ethereal dolphins. It's weird.
Yeah, and then the jiggle on there is just crazy. All right, well, let's explain what we do here. This is Giant Bomb. You can support this if you like it by going to giantbomb.com/join. Gets you a membership. If you pay the monthly fee there, you're going to get ad-free shows. You might get stuff.
You're going to get mugs. Mike is going to get you mugs. I got a mug from Mike.
If more people join at a certain point, we'll just add new mugs to the store randomly, and he'll have to deal with the fallout of that because he is Merchmaster Mike. Merchmaster Mitch. But yeah, it really helps us do things over here. It's just we're a small team trying to figure things out. We still have not even paid ourselves yet. So we're kind of piecing all these things together. And the more support we get, the more we can do. We have a lot of big ideas, stuff that is getting underway right now, in fact. As far as this show goes, most weekdays, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news and maybe even some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you were watching live on Twitch, welcome. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS feed on giantbomb.com. You can also catch the show later on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right, we have a lot to get into, so let's start the morning mess with Donkey Kong Bonanza Nintendo Direct Roundup from My Nintendo News. Here they go. In today's Donkey Kong Bonanza Direct presentation, Donkey Kong returns in the spotlight with mayhem, music, mystery, and oh so many bananas. The game is launching July 17th exclusively for Nintendo Switch 2. And Donkey Kong Bonanza is an all-new 3D platforming game that lets DK punch, grab, toss, climb, smash, and flex his strength as he explores the depths of this wild action adventure. We knew a lot of this stuff. This was our most decent and lengthy look at the game so far, and it really, really has won me over. I was already going to play this game no matter what. I'm a sucker. I've been over this. But how about you? How'd you find this direct?
Yeah, I'm not a Donkey Kong person in a lot of ways. I'm not a big fan of the DKC games. I do like Donkey Kong, like the arcade game, and Donkey Kong 94 is pretty awesome as well. But I'm not a huge fan of either the DK country, sort of the NES or SNES ones or the later ones. This super won me over. This looks delightful. The music seems great. The character designs seem great. The exploring the world looks really fun and interesting. I'm super excited to play a bit more.
Yeah, I'm like, if I'm looking at Twitch chat now, I'm interested to see people's reaction to it. Even if you're someone who's skeptical of Nintendo games generally, like if you did watch the direct, what was your takeaway? I'm trying, like, it does seem like there were some people who weren't sure about this game for whatever reason. And, I was watching that. I was like, ooh, clapping my hands. Yay, look at, they're showing all these funny things and cute things that I think look fun to play around with. And at the same time, like any game, I'll have to get my hands on it and decide at that point if this stuff is actually going to deliver real fun. But I'm like, oh, did some people see like level design they didn't like? That's something Mike mentioned. Yeah. He saw people saying that.
I think that was kind of one of the few things that was missing from the direct. There was a lot of like, here's your moveset, and here's all the things that you can do in the open world and go around and look at and change into costumes and stuff. But there was very little like, okay, and here's what you do in the game. Here's how you progress through the game. Here's what your objective is or anything like that. Which I think some people might... Yes. Like, it's a very different game design philosophy to Mario Odyssey, which is like, here's the beginning of the level and kind of the end of a level, which is a boss usually, and collect moons as you go to have enough moons when you get there. And if you don't have enough moons, go back and look for some more. Whereas this, it seems to be much more exploration first.
Yeah.
And then progress through a level. So I don't know, maybe some people will feel that it's not as directed in a way that a lot of Nintendo games, are so good at. And like handcrafted in that way of like specifically getting you to go certain directions and see certain things and interact with certain things. But I think it looked really good. I'm looking forward to it in a way that I wasn't. And compared to a lot of those individual game directs that they did, this one felt like it was at a good pace. It was substantial content, and it wasn't like unbearable detail like we've had with some of the Smash Brother ones in the past, where it's like, I don't care, man. I don't care about these fucking trophies, man.
Yep, they would just keep going for a really long time with the Smash Directs. This one was 15 minutes, really, and then there was a point where it's like, okay, some of these features that they're going into now, it's like, have they run out of exciting stuff to talk about now that we're down to the amiibo? But I guess other people care about amiibo, so that's just a me thing. Let's read some of the details.
Who would care about amiibo?
I'm just sickos. Definitely sickos that are holding one on my show right now. Okay.
It's Luke, everyone's favorite Nintendo character. Luke.
Number one Luke fans on this show. All right, Donkey Kong Bonanza game kicks off in Ingot Isle, where the discovery of the century has just been made within its cavernous depths. Golden bananas. As you can imagine, DK, very horny for these things. This turns out to be excellent news for the renowned banana fan, Donkey Kong, which I'm going to put renowned banana fan on my business card from now on, who just happens to be there for this incredible find. However, just before DK can indulge in the gilded treats, a tempest sends him hurtling deeper into the depths of the planet. There, he meets a mysterious new ally in Oddrock, who turns out to be a talented young singer named Pauline. Okay, so The Rock is Pauline. I actually didn't put two and two together there.
He's playing her in the movie. He's going to play her in the next movie.
I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. He's just got that versatility. He can do anything. And he can sing. Together, the pair explore the vast underground world by smashing, crashing, jumping, and singing their way through it. A rollicking adventure you could play solo or in co-op with a friend. They showed that. Where you had the second player was playing in mouse mode and was just firing big rocky words at people. It was Interesting. Here's some other tidbits. New ways to smash and bash. Utilize powerful abilities like dive punch, rolling, hand slap, and turf surfing to overcome obstacles and find hidden items with combinations for maximum mayhem. Just seems like there's a reason 3 buttons are punch and destroy stuff on the face of the controller. That is the main verb you're doing in this game that they want you to focus on. There's Bonanza transformations. Pauline enhances Donkey Kong's abilities through singing, activated by Bananergy, with transformations like Kong
That one's lazy. That one's terrible. That's a terrible one. They didn't even fucking try with that one.
Energy, Bananergy. I don't know. It kind of works for me real good. Bananergy. I have got Bananergy legs. The transformations like Kong Bonanza for strength, Zebra Bonanza for speed, and Ostrich Banana for flight and egg bombs. Do you think that is it? Or there's probably some more, right? For transformations?
There might be. Yeah, there might be some ones that they haven't shown off. I don't think it's going to be like a Cappy style thing where there's like 60 of them.
Definitely not.
Because I do think the deformation is the mechanic that they're playing around with this time. So I think that's going to be the focus.
We talked about co-op play. Race to the planet core. Donkey Kong and Pauline seek the planet core for their desires while racing against the Void Company, who stole bananas and turned Pauline into Oddrock. Why do they crave the planet core? What desires are they talking about here?
Grubb, this game is just like Black Ops 3. It's about rare earth minerals.
Of course, yeah. They just want to be able to control the iPhone supply chain here. Yeah. Collectibles, find Banandium gems. How do you feel about that one? That one's a little bit better.
That one's more acceptable because I live in a world where I think about unobtainium a lot.
Of course.
So really, yeah.
Of course. Yes. Who doesn't? Listen, both people on this show do, and that to me that means 100% of people do.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember what the Banandium gems provide you in this game? I forgot until I just read it on this sheet here.
A raging erection. I have no idea.
That's right, and also skill points for the skill tree, which is a weird
one
thing
of those
to
skill
see.
points. Yeah, one of those skill points is just a raging erection. The Donkey Kong. When he's
that's
naked.
right. Yes, and then just obviously keep putting more skill points in there, min max into the raging erection. That's a weird thing to have in a Mario, or I was gonna say a Nintendo 3D platformer. I almost said Mario, but this is not Mario. It's DK, but it's not like DK has had a skill tree in a game before. Really, any Nintendo platformer of any kind. So I don't know. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's interesting that this is the game where they have a skill tree when like even the Mario RPGs don't really have skill trees.
Right.
You just kind of get you get what they tell you get. And so it's interesting that this is the one where like you can spec your character differently, and I'm not sure if that will flatten some of the level design of like, hey, we have to make sure that if someone doesn't have like a glide jump, they can still get this thing halfway through the story. So I'm curious how that affects the actual gameplay. But I'm super curious. I do have to say, we were talking about unobtainium and stuff like that, and it just made me think I really want someone to edit together the Donkey Kong trailer with the Andor scene of the guy going rare earth Calcite. Yeah.
Yes.
Just him demanding Calcite and Donkey Kong being there, being like, woo, Calcite!
Deep substrate foliated Banandium, everybody. That's what I'm into, and that's what I need. Other familiar faces and new faces join the fun. The Void Company members are that's the enemy crew. There's giant elders, which were giant animals that looked sleepy. It was weird. Cranky Kong is back. Ramby, Grumpy Kong is a new one. Poppy Kong, Void Kong. Those are the Void crew people. Getaways and elevators. Rest at getaways to restore energy and choose music. Use elevators, subterranean heals. For quick travel, there's creative game modes where you can sculpt DK's face and then paint him using the mouse mode.
I'm sure that will end well.
I don't understand what you're saying. Listen, raging erections are one of the things in the skill tree. They're just going to expect you to represent that.
Lean into the skill tree. Yeah.
And then there's a new amiibo where DK has Pauline riding us back. Now, Pauline,
who would buy useless amiibo? Who would buy useless amiibo for too much money?
No one I know. Pauline is a child in this game. Cranky Kong is in this game and he's still Cranky Kong. This has people up in arms because Nintendo has just thrown out the traditional DK lore and has no respect for it. Donkey Kong Bonanza raises the possibility of a DK multiverse, says Steve Watts at GameSpot. Donkey Kong Bonanza is the next big Switch 2 game, landing firmly within launch window status next month. Nintendo took the wraps off of DKB with a rapid-fire presentation detailing its story, features, amiibo support, and more. And altogether, it looks like a dang hoot. Donkey Kong can go Super Saiyan or turn into a zebra. There's a cabal of evil capitalist Kongs. He collects Bananergy, one of Lexi's favorite things. High marks across the board. The story elements, though, appear to raise some pretty serious questions about our understanding of the Donkey Kong lore. That's right, I said Donkey Kong lore with a straight face. Buckle up, kids. The Donkey Kong Bonanza presentation opened with introducing young Pauline, a budding singer who we know from Super Mario Odyssey, would go on to become the mayor of New Donk City. In this game, she looks no more than 10 years old or so and hangs off DK's back as a companion character. Pauline has a dream, and DK is being exploited by his capitalist overlords, so together they head toward the planet core to make a wish, all completely normal so far. Okay, the planet core grants wishes. I missed that. In fact, the presence of a young Pauline implies this is a prequel of sorts. DK has been rehabilitated from his villainous persona in the original Donkey Kong for years, but buddying up with Pauline as a little girl suggests that there was more to the story than we knew, as of the time when DK grabbed her and carried her to the top of a tower and forced Jumpman, aka Mario, to rescue her. They apparently had a history. They were old friends. The mind reels, says Steve Watts. Do you think, Lexi, that me reading all of those words put us in a situation, you, I, people watching and listening at home, that we have now thought about this more than Nintendo has?
Grubb, I need you to know, I don't care.
Why would anyone care? Nintendo doesn't care.
It's so funny. Like, the Hyrule Historia should tell you all you need to know about how much Nintendo gives a shit about the internal logic of its universes.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even secondary, right? It is background noise. It is the background radiation of the Big Bang that is just there, and if it went away, no one would notice and no one would care. That's how Nintendo feels about the lore for something like Zelda, let alone Donkey Kong. That it's just there to serve like the gameplay, and it's been a long time since like DK. And if they were like gun to their head, if you broke into Nintendo's headquarters and used had like an electric whip that you could tie around their neck and be like, tell the truth or I'll electrify you, and like how do you make this make sense? They could probably come up with something where it's like DK was misunderstood in Donkey Kong, or he got shot with a tranquilizer dart that made him forget his best friends. Like, it's just not that hard to come up with headcanon. You could probably spout off 15 of those really fast and everything would still make perfect sense. Now, I'll give you that Cranky Kong was once supposed to be the Donkey Kong that was in DK, and now he's there, and this is young Pauline. Is that the same Pauline? Well, no, maybe it's a different Pauline. Maybe this is Pauline Jr. Like, there's just ways to make it make sense. I guess mostly I'm just kind of confused that some people seem to be like legitimately trying to figure this out, and Nintendo did not. So yeah, you're not too concerned about this?
There's an idea coined by the Weekly Planet when they were talking about X-Men movies, where they were like, when people talk about the X-Men movies canon, the only thing that is canon for each X-Men movie is what happened in the previous X-Men movies.
Right.
Like the previous one, just one back. It doesn't go for... Yeah, it doesn't go any further. So, like, the stuff that happened in Days of Future Past connected to First Class, but the stuff that happened in Apocalypse contradicts all of First Class. And Nintendo stuff is even worse than that, where it's just like, actually, all of them are self-contained. Don't fucking worry about it. It's a stage play. Yeah. They've said before, it's a fucking stage play. We don't care. That's the most, like, we're trying to tell you we don't care in an answer that makes it sound whimsical kind of way. Of like, no, guys, we just don't care about an overarching story. It doesn't have one. And I think that these characters are just templates. They always have been. They've just been templates for characteristics. And DK's characteristics have changed over time, which means that it's now necessary for him to be a more like protagonist character than antagonistic style character. So yeah, that's all this is.
Yep, I'm with you. And you're like, the stage play is a very good point. So, or it's like even kind of like a indie wrestling promotion from like the 70s or whatever, where it's like, they're telling an ongoing story, but if they have to throw everything out, not many people are going to really notice because they understand that's not really what it's all about. All right, we're going to get on to the rest of the headlines, but first we're going to take a break, and I don't have the ads. Jan's not here. He's not running the show. So if you're watching live, there you go, an ad-free version, but this will be in the podcast version later. So we're going to go to an ad break. If you don't want to see these, you don't want to hear these in the future, go to giantbomb.com/join. Gets you ad-free, helps you miss out on that. In fact, you can even go to giantbomb.com/chat if you're a premium member, and you get the ad-free live version from Twitch, so you don't get the Twitch ads in there. That's a pretty cool feature that everyone should take advantage of. All right, we're going to go to a break. We'll be right back right after this. Yeah, it's yeah, exactly. That's what you should have done. Let's see. Let me turn that off. All right, there we go. All right, we're back. Game Mess Mornings. I'm Jeff Grubb. That's Lex Luddy. We're going to get back into the headlines with Warner Brothers Warner Games splits into Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, Game of Thrones divisions. This is from Andy Robinson at VGC. Warner Brothers Games has restructured into divisions dedicated to 4 key franchises: Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, Mortal Kombat, and the DC Universe. On Tuesday, the company confirmed it had promoted Warner Brothers Games Montreal studio head Yves Lachon to oversee Harry Potter and Game of Thrones games, while NetherRealm studio head Sean Hemrick will oversee Mortal Kombat and DC games. The restructuring comes during a period of significant overhaul at WB Games divisions. Earlier this year, WB Interactive president David Haddad left the company following a 12-year tenure. Warner then announced last month that it was closing 3 internal game development studios and canceling its Wonder Woman game. There's obviously a lot of other things that they have in the works here. Do you think this feels like an answer to what ails WB when it comes to producing games based on its properties internally?
Nope, not at all. I think the most notable thing in this is that there is not a Lego division or a TT Games division, which is still owned by Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
So if I was at Traveler Tales, I would be rather anxious about the future. Or is
it the opposite? I think there's a possibility where it's like Traveler's Tales. We know what to do with Traveler's Tales, so we don't need to figure out a new division to fit them under and all this stuff. And all these other ones, like Mortal Kombat, maybe notwithstanding, although that last Mortal Kombat game didn't do quite as well as they were hoping. And Harry Potter is obviously a big one that they're focused on. But DC and Game of Thrones, these things do feel a little bit more lost in the woods. And I don't know, if I'm Traveler's Tales, I'm almost happy I'm being left out of this restructuring. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I suppose my main question is how they view TT now, because they are no longer the exclusive Lego development studio. There are other studios working on Lego games, other publishers working on Lego games. 2K are doing Lego sports games. You have these indie Lego games. You have Lego Horizon, which was done by Guerrilla and was it Sumo or someone like that? It was kind of a partner development thing. But I think that that Lego Star Wars game sold really well, but it was delayed 4 times, or 3 or 4 times, and they were really mad about how much it was delayed. And on top of that, you also need to remember that they haven't put out a game since that Lego Star Wars game,
You're right.
which has been a while. So I'm just kind of curious as to the state of that organization. I don't think this helps, because we're seeing that the big problem with AAA game development right now is that big bets are so risky. And people haven't liked a lot of Warner Brothers' big bets recently. They didn't like Suicide Squad. Mortal Kombat 1 wasn't like a disaster or anything, but it certainly didn't set the world on fire in the way that they wanted it to. And now they're like, okay, our solution to this is to consolidate and place bigger and fewer bets.
Right.
And I don't think that the solution to this is like, oh, let's make some Scribblenauts games again.
No.
Because I don't think Scribblenauts is necessarily going to like solve their problems. But I do think that like having some really talented studios like they do, there's some like very talented studios there, and getting them to work on fucking Harry Potter until that franchise is driven into the dirt one way or the other, like that's just gonna grind out the final bit of positivity anyone felt about like that company. And like you look at Ubisoft, the reason people are sick of Ubisoft is because they're like, well, we keep on getting the same stuff. We keep on getting Assassin's Creed. We keep on getting the same stuff. And so being like, yeah, we're going to give you the same stuff, but more. I don't think like people want that anymore. People want new and interesting stuff. They want something to surprise them. And the sure as shit isn't going to be anything that's going to surprise them from a Game of Thrones game. And like DC, maybe you get a good DC game out there, but like Rocksteady has lost a lot of talent, and who else is making DC games for them?
WB Montreal, which is and not had a great track record.
Yeah, and they have never given the support that they need to actually make something successful. Like telling them to make a Batman game not inside the Arkham universe, but in the style of Arkham Combat. Yeah, that's gonna go great, guys. That's good. Fans are gonna love that. Warner Brothers as a company, everyone knows is a shit show. David Zaslav like doesn't know how to run a company, and he's just really good at making money for himself.
Yep.
And most of these two of these franchises, I could not give less of a shit about. One of them I only kind of give a shit about, and that's because James Gunn occasionally makes interesting movies. And Mortal Kombat is Mortal Kombat. It could survive on its own. I don't think it needs Warner Brothers. I think the best thing for Mortal Kombat in the world would be if Warner Brothers was liquidated and they were sold to literally anyone else.
Yep. I think that series continues sort of despite Warner Brothers' involvement. And you definitely get the sense that Warner Brothers' like corporate desire for growth is one of the problems for Mortal Kombat, of just trying to find a way to squeeze more money from every aspect of that. Not that a standalone NetherRealm wouldn't try to make even more money from that game, but you know that the pressures from a corporation are always going to be extreme when it comes to that stuff. Warner Brothers just can't figure out games. Despite making successful games, some of the most successful games, and despite making games that people really love, they just come out of those things and they're like, man, that was tough. Did we learn anything? It's like, well, we kind of don't want to do this anymore. So can we sell all of our studios and stuff like that? And they've tried to do that multiple times. Could not find any buyers who were willing to buy those studios without getting, a perpetual license to the IP or whatever. Right. And so I just think that them settling on whatever this is actually going to look like feels like, okay, someone has to try to figure this out. This was our fourth or fifth option down on the list of things we wanted to do. I guess someone should own this. And again, like knowing corporations like the way I do, my assumption here is going to be this is probably going to fizzle out. And one of these, divisions will probably not be long for this world. I mean, I don't know. Like, are they really going to make 4 Game of Thrones games? I can't see that making any sense. So it's like, yeah, this is going to be an initiative that we look back on in a couple of years, Lexi, and go, oh, remember when they tried that? What was that even about? I don't think much comes from this.
I think this is like a really effective way for them to be able to distribute the blame when something goes wrong, and to be able to say, well, it was this segment, let's lay off people from this segment. They're the reason we didn't hit our earnings this year. And it's just a more effective way for them to do that, to lay the blame at someone else's feet, when it's really like it's the people at the top's fucking fault. And also, like, they've tied themselves to the situation where 2 of the franchises that they're working on, one of them is incomplete and is probably never going to be finished by its author. The other one is run by a raging bigot. Like, it's not a stable fucking, like, collection of IP. Yeah, it's not a great collection of IP where they can be like, oh well, these are really stable things and people love them, like Star Wars. And I was like, no, more people are falling off Harry Potter all the time. More people are falling off Game of Thrones because those books are never coming out all the time. Like they're not eternal franchises in the way that Warner Brothers likes to think they are.
Yeah, and then the DC stuff is challenging, right? They've kind of they feel like they've tapped out Batman. That's why they were trying other stuff, and then the other stuff just doesn't get people as excited. And Superman seems to be this non-starter of like they can't ever get a Superman thing off the ground. Pun not intended there, but I just think that they will. There's no obvious answer waiting for them to just take the next step into and being like, okay, now this is clearly what we do with all these things, and now we're back on the pathway to growth. It's going to be much more challenging than that. I just don't know their appetite over there, knowing that they've tried to sell off these studios multiple times now and just couldn't find a buyer, and that's the only reason that they still have a game division. Long term, I think that a lot of these decisions will just not pan out to much, and some of them could be even disastrous. All right, let's do the FBC Fire Break review roundup. It has a 67 on OpenCritic right now when I checked Lex Luddy earlier this morning. PC Gamer's Rick Lake gave it a 60 out of 100 and said FBC Fire Break's madcap mission conceits are delightfully silly, but balancing issues and limited replay value hinder the fun. It got 2 stars from Abby Stone at Games Radar. Being forced to stand stock still and stare at the horrible traffic light, longing for it to turn green is wonderfully tense. I really actually don't even understand what this game or how it plays. So I'm like, I don't even know what that's referencing, but I'll check it out on Friday and see for myself. 8 out of 10 from Donovan Erskine at Shack News. FBC Firebreak is an impressive multiplayer take on the Control universe. Each job is cleverly designed to make the most of the game's various playstyles, while also enjoying a steep amount of replayability thanks to job customization. It's a multiplayer game that can give you a chill, casual vibes, and intense, challenging gameplay. It's all about what you want to get out of it. Have you spent any time with FBC Firebreak from the Remedy Corporation?
I spent time with it in a very unideal circumstance. I was part of their stress test beta,
right?
Which was specifically them trying to break their servers and seeing how much load they could take. So there was a lot of like connection issues and things like that. But I really liked the feeling of the shooting in that game. I thought it felt really good. I thought exploring the oldest house in a first-person perspective was an interesting idea. I'm just not sure if Left 4 Dead survival gameplay is what I want to be doing with that perspective and with that world. And again, like getting a co-op, friends together. I don't know. It's one of those games where I look at it and I'm like, this doesn't play into the Remedy strengths, but Remedy is so good right now that even doing all that, this is of a level of quality where I'm like, I think this is passable, but I don't think it's like jump out of your chair incredible. I think there's a reason this is on PlayStation Plus and Game Pass day one, because those deals probably made a lot of sense when they looked at the projected sales numbers. So yeah, like I don't think it's like terrible. I don't think it's a shit show or anything. I just don't think it is like a slam dunk by any regards.
Yeah. I bet it's divisive, actually. I bet that there will be people who find a way to get into it, and then there's going to be a larger audience, likely, that's like, I just don't get this, and this is not for me. Remedy, a busy studio, always has been, more busy than ever in a lot of ways. At a certain point, I'm just kind of impressed that they were able to get this game made and shipped, and relieved now that they can get back to some of the other stuff that I'm more interested from them. But listen, they're going to have to continue to like grow in some ways naturally by like training up new people to work on stuff, or have new people that are going to act as directors on these games. We talked to the director of this game on the couch at GB at night over at Summer Game Fest, and it was like, oh yeah, clearly like this is them just like kind of making sure they keep themselves sharp and can take on bigger projects and try different stuff. I hope that they don't give up on this idea of multiplayer games. I don't want it to be their focus for sure, but like take what you learned here and now apply it to the next thing, and maybe the next thing could be even better. I hope they get the chance to do that, even if FBC doesn't necessarily find its audience, which, you know, could ruin everything in that regard. All right, Beat Saber ends support for PSVR and PSVR 2. This is from Sal Romano at Gamatsu. From Gamatsu. Beat Games will end support for the PlayStation VR 2 and PlayStation VR versions of Beat Saber. The developer announced end of support for updates and downloadable content starts today, and multiplayer will no longer be available starting January 21st, 2026. The PSVR 2 and PSVR versions will remain playable and purchasable with cross-buy even after multiplayer support ends. Here's the full message from Beat Games. Let's see what's worth pulling out here. As we look to the future and plan the next big leap for Beat Saber, we have made the decision to no longer release updates for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 starting in June. Our passion for virtual reality remains unwavering. We are excited about the possibilities that lie ahead and what we can bring to Beat Saber fans who have been on this journey with us for the past 7 years. What this means for you, this update will not impact your ability to keep playing Beat Saber, blah, blah, blah. We kind of went over some of this. Okay, yeah. Remind me, was Beat Games one of the studios acquired by Meta? Or
yeah.
Okay. So is that the factor here, or you know, or I guess the other factor is PSVR 2 just really doesn't feel like much of a going concern.
Yeah, that's kind of my big takeaway is like the idea that PSVR 2 has created so little of a foothold this generation, especially like PSVR 1 had a lot more luck in the PS4 generation.
Yeah, kind of like Kinect, right? Kinect 1 did just fine, and then no one wanted the Kinect that came bundled with the Xbox One or whatever.
Yeah, and I think one of the other notes in here is that like multiplayer is being discontinued. So at some point they were probably like, we don't want to pay for these servers.
January 21st of next year, they're going to bring down the multiplayer servers.
So yeah, like it's a huge blow for people who are committed to the PlayStation VR ecosystem, the few that there are, because when you buy a VR headset, and this has been the problem with VR for years, is the killer app is still Beat Saber. And it has been pretty much since it released, back in like 2017 or whatever, like ages ago. Might even be older than that. But it's that no longer being kept up to date on one of the platforms is kind of a sign of like, oh, the killer app is now not available on this platform that wants to position itself as like a viable alternative to PC VR. And suddenly it's like, nah, just get a PC VR headset. Like if you want to play the actual version of this game that is still supported, if you want to play a bunch of other weird shit, if you want to mess around with stuff that isn't getting released on PlayStation, like it further makes the argument for not buying a PSVR 2 headset more than there already was one.
Yeah, I got it. It just, you know, the stench of death has been around PSVR 2 since pretty much day one, when it was clear that Sony just wasn't going to be putting the software support behind it the way they did PSVR, and that's always their story with these things. You know, PSP gets lots of support, PS Vita gets less. This is kind of a similar trajectory to that. So, and honestly, it's kind of an exacerbated version because there's just really not a lot of VR games happening generally, so they couldn't even rely on third party or indies the way that they've done that in the past. So PSVR 2 coming and going, and kind of has been gone for a long time, makes this story, not too surprising. And, you know, what is the future of VR? It's probably just those MetaQuest headsets for a while, you know, and then mixed reality with glasses at some point. I don't know. I'm not craving that the way I maybe once was, and I was never really that excited about it in the first place. So yeah, just VR in general. What are your feelings?
I should be nice because one of the co-founders of the website that I'm helping run also loves VR. But
there's no money in being nice to your co-owners, I've discovered. Yeah, so yeah.
I'm much less enthusiastic about the space. And I never really have been on board. I've never owned my own VR headset. There's never been something to push me over the edge. Even Half-Life Alyx, I was like, I'm okay. I might play it in a few years if it gets cheaper to play and like if it gets cheaper to get these headsets and stuff. And they've just never lowered the entry level like price enough for me to be able to be like, okay, I'll get in now. And so and yeah, there's one Dan Reichers in Chash giving sending a memo to his co-owner, hey Grubb, fuck you. I think it's just
that's where the big bucks are made. You just got to have animosity, and people love it. You're right. VR is just kind of a thing where I think most people are in your chair there, where they're like looking at this thing and being like, okay, like I've been waiting, it never happened, so I was never given that reason to jump in with both feet and spend a bunch of money. I like my Quest 3 though, despite it being a part of the Meta Corporation. All right, last handful of stories. Someone pulled off $1 million Switch 2 heist. This is from Blair Marnell at GameSpot. Everyone knew that the Switch 2 was going to be the hottest game console of 2025, but someone has provided an entirely different kind of heat. Earlier this month, thieves stole around 3,000 Nintendo Switch 2 consoles out of the back of a truck without being detected until it was too late. A semi-truck driver reported that the theft on June 8th at a truck stop in Bennett, Colorado. The driver told police that he discovered the missing Switch 2 boxes while performing a pre-trip inspection. Police determined that 2,810 Switch 2 consoles were taken. So it's well over $1 million worth of merchandise. Yes, and apparently everything else on the truck untouched. They just went for the Switch 2s, which I guess it's possible. You open a truck and you see a bunch of Switch 2s and you go, well, I know that's worth money. And then you just grab those and then you go. But yeah, I gotta tell you, I like a good, hey, this fell off the back of a truck thing where it's like, yeah, I believe when I was a kid, my friend's dad got him a hot Sega Genesis. And that's where I learned about things falling off the back of a truck. I always appreciate people pulling off a heist. Although, listen, if you have to look over your shoulder for the rest of your lives for the Nintendo Ninjas, that's no way to live.
My big vibe with these kind of stories is not my money.
Yeah, exactly. It's insured.
Grubb, you should. This feels like a very Grubb core movie. You should watch American Animals.
Okay.
Just go into it almost blind. It is about some dirtbag teenagers, and it's based on a true story about some dirtbag teenagers who decide to steal some valuable art from their college museum, and it's really fucking good. It's very much so up. It's your shit.
Yes, that sounds fantastic. I'll check that out. All right. Alien Ant Farm says it's a bummer to be removed from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 soundtrack. The band whose song Wish was included in the soundtrack for Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 won't be included in the upcoming remake collection alongside Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4. Now speaking to the BBC, the band has expressed their disappointment in the omission. Is it a bummer that we weren't involved, or did they not include us? Absolutely. We understand that they're trying to bring some new stuff on these releases, and if you got to make cuts, you've got to make cuts. I don't know why it had to be us. I feel like our song was really good on there and did really well. Alien Ant Farm is known almost primarily and exclusively for that Annie, Are You Okay? A cover that they did of the Michael Jackson song. Alien Ant Farm actually has some good songs, and I actually like that song on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Smooth Criminal, yes. It was the kind of thing where it's like, that's a band I never am going to like try to defend because people are just so annoyed by Smooth Criminal and their cover of it at this point. But yeah, that's a shame. I like Alien Ant Farm. But I guess what I can ask you about this, Alexi, is do young people still discover like music, quote unquote, real music, or music not made for video games through video games? Is that something that still happens? Are there a lot of games with those kinds of soundtracks?
There's so few games with licensed soundtracks now when you think about it. Like, there's so few games with needle drops in a lot of ways. Like, Mixtape obviously is going to be all that, which looks super rad. But, like, even big budget games are skipping on it because, like, I'm not sure if you know this, Mind's Eye doesn't have a radio station.
Yeah, I did. I learned this.
You just drive. Yeah, you drive in silence. Speaking of, I'm going to be streaming that directly after this. I'm going to keep on playing more of that game.
I've learned some things about that game. Apparently, the ending is unhinged, which I think I might make Dan watch it today when we're doing some other stuff.
You weren't really paying attention during that opening cutscene because
No.
you're you, but
That's right.
The big like tease at the beginning of that game is like, oh, there's something infecting the AI and it's aliens from these temples.
I can't imagine why I wasn't interested in that.
There's like alien writing and shit. When you die, it's like the red writing and shit. Like, yeah, I think that game's ending, if I'm to guess, because I have not beat it yet, and I'm going to finish that game, is it was aliens.
And then the Don't Drink Dust Man, who you get to play as in the free run mode. This is an important and powerful creature in video games that we need to unleash on every game. I cannot wait to really explore Donkey Kong Bonanza as the Don't Drink Dust Man in his crop top.
He's going to be the next guest character in Tony Hawk.
Of course. Yes, yeah. I want it real bad. All right. And then adult targeted, quote unquote, Death Stranding anime movie announced, joining the live action film. This is from Eddie McHugh at GameSpot. This had been like mentioned or rumored, but I guess this is an official announcement now. This one I think will happen. In addition to the live action Death Stranding movie, an adult targeted animated movie based on the game is in the works. Deadline reported that Aaron Guzikowski, who wrote the 2013 Denis Villeneuve movie Prisoners, has reached a deal to write the screenplay for the Death Stranding animated movie. The movie is being billed as a similar tone to the adult-focused anime movies like Predator, Killer of Killers, and the upcoming John Wick animated prequel. Sure. Yeah, why not? That sounds like the kind of thing that Hideo
that's a really
would
wild
want.
writer choice, yeah.
You know what that feels like to me is a Kojima writer choice. He's
yeah, that's him going, I fucking love Prisoners.
Yeah,
and you
I
know
love
what,
Prisoners.
Kojima? Me fucking too. I love Prisoners too. What a great movie.
Prisoners, is that the one with Jake Gyllenhaal? What's Prisoners?
Yeah, it's Jake Gyllenhaal and Paul Dano
and Hugh Jackman. Right, Paul Dano.
Yeah, and Hugh Jackman. That's the one where like Paul Dano like broke out as, oh, this guy's weird. Look at this fucking weird guy.
Yeah, he was in There Will Be Blood, right? That was like, was that before or after that? That's the one where I think everyone's...
That was before that. Before that.
That's when everyone's like really like, hey, that Paul Dano guy. I have always been a Dano man. I've always appreciated Paul Dano. Yeah, that's what happened. Kojima watched that movie.
A Dano Fano.
Yeah, I'm a Dano Fano. That's right. The Fano Danos are here, everybody. Stand back. All right, that does it for the headlines. We got a poll question that I did not get prepared, so let me just do this real quick and go over to the community tab. All right, I asked, do you still play Minecraft? I asked that on Monday. 21% said yes, 38% said no, and 40% said never did. I'm playing more Minecraft than ever right now because of the kiddos. The game's fun. It's a good game.
20% is a big number for a game that old.
Especially like that like, hey, are you still playing it? This isn't like, have you ever played Minecraft? This is, are you still playing Minecraft? 1 in 5 people of the 1,000 people here are playing Minecraft actively. And that's like one, like, obviously Minecraft is huge. The movie was huge, but that's not even one that's like in that common conversation right now of like the Fortnites and some of these like Call of Duty and stuff like that. That like has slowly entered the quietly massive game just off to the side. It's not like the quietest one for sure, but it's like just, you know, it just hums along. And what I've discovered is, boy, did they find a way to charge people for mods. Like going to Bedrock Edition and getting everyone off of Java where people were installing mods for free was a brilliant financial move for the Microsoft Corporation, because they found a way to charge for everything. And
That's so depressing. Bring back WADs. Bring back WADs, man.
I was always someone like, hey, I would love for people who make mods to get paid. I guess I hope the cut is very much in their favor, and I don't really know if it is. All right, new poll question. We'll get to that here in a second. Before we do that, though, Lex, Luddy, why don't you tell people where they could find you on the internet and what you have going on?
So I just wrote a impressions piece of Yakuza 0 for Shack News. I am not as hot on it as I want to be. Some weird story additions have been made that I find kind of baffling. You can go check that out in more detail over on Shack News. Rewinder.co.uk. I am helping set things up there. We're getting things going. We just have new stream overlays set up by the very talented Jerem.
Yeah.
So I'll be showing those off in the stream that I'm doing right after this. I'm going to be playing more Mind's Eye. Startmenu.co.uk I'm still running. It's a place for people trying to start out in the industry and break into games media. And that sees updates pretty much constantly. We're always posting stuff over there. We have an active Discord. And yeah, I'm just kind of hanging out.
Fantastic. New poll question. Are you going to get Donkey Kong Bonanza? Yes or no? We will get... Oh, look at that. Kiki. There you go. There's a Kiki, everybody. And yeah, we'll get that results of that poll question on tomorrow's show here on Game Mess Mornings here on Giant Bomb. Speaking of Giant Bomb, in a little bit, give me a few minutes to get set up. We're gonna play some Punch Out for the Wii. I am going to try to get to Donkey Kong. No, it won't happen today, but we'll just play some of the Punch Out for the Wii. That's a great game. Looking forward to doing that. Dan's going to be hanging out with me.
Counter-programming you with Mind's Eye. I'm really...
Well,
yeah.
Listen, some people just can't handle the violence of a man punching the baguettes out of a Frenchman. So instead, just go watch Mind's Eye, which is much more tame by comparison.
The Venn diagram is a circle of people into Punch Out for the Wii and Mind's Eye.
Yep. There's Kitty's still right there. There you go, everybody. Everyone's asking for more Kitty Cat. Look, there she goes. Oh, she's playing. All right. Let's see, what else do we... Oh, yeah. It's Wednesday. It's Blake Club. He's going to look so cool. Rascal Mitch is back. And listen, there's a chance he beats it today.
I really hope he doesn't. He'll be so defeated if he doesn't.
He'll
feel so bad.
There was not a lot of progress last week, but that makes me feel
No, there wasn't.
That makes me feel like he's going to be on a roll this week because he doesn't have 2 bad weeks in a row. That doesn't happen for old Mikey. So I think he's going to just crush that thing today. I'm looking forward to it.
You know, a video series is good when the viewers watching it, like me, come away from the 2-hour episodes being like, "Man, I'm fucking beat. I'm exhausted. I can't believe I just went through that."
It's a gauntlet to play through. It's a gauntlet to watch. Did I unplug my shit? No, I didn't. We're good. All right. And then, tomorrow, Voicemail Dump Truck, I'm going to be playing some Gex Trilogy with Audie Sorley from Limited Run Games. Looking forward to that. Game Mess Mornings will be back. Game Mess Mornings will be back on Friday. UPF, we're going to play FBC Fire Break. Everyone should go to giantbomb.com/join and help us out. We're looking forward to getting your support so we can do even more of this. We appreciate everyone who has helped us out so far. We are going to find new ways to reward all of you real soon. In the meantime, let's get this wrapped up. Lex Luddy, thank you so much for hanging out with me and talking about video games. I really appreciate it.
Anytime, Grubb.
Thank you all for listening and watching. You're the best audience in gaming. Until next time, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.